Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel. My name is Hunter, if you couldn't tell by the channel description down below. Today we're going over what to do with your old iMac if you just got a Mac Mini M4 series. If you're like me, spent a lot of money on an iMac. This is a late 2013 version. Yes, still ran it up until the beginning of 2025. Obviously, a lot of the software was not updating anymore. My browser wouldn't even let me go on Adorama, which is problematic because I like to look at camera gear. And so finally time to upgrade. The M4s, everybody is talking about them, everybody knows, like the chips in them are fantastic. They're very quick little machines and they're very budget oriented. So being budget oriented, if you bought an M4, you don't want to spend $1,500 on Apple's display, especially if you've got an Apple display sitting here on your desk already. Now, the problem is you bought this computer and you need some way to communicate between the two. And you also want it to look good because we're photographers and videographers. So today I'm going to go through how I set this guy up with no other display besides the iMac and maybe the iPad, but not purchasing any display for it. You can set up from out of the box, ground zero, set it up to work with this. I'm going to go through the different ways I did it. I'm going to go through the ways I've optimized those and what my final option is, what I'm finally going to rest upon, and what I'm really pretty happy with. I have edited video on the Mac Mini with the iMac. I fiddled with photos a little bit last night. I'm still actively editing a wedding video that I'm taking time to record this when I should be editing my wedding video. But I looked at some wedding photos that I still have yet to edit, and we'll thumb through some of both of those today just to show you what the different things look like on the screen. So the first thing you will need is some sort of HDMI to USB adapter. This was one that, what is it, Ugreen, that somebody had posted on another video. I bought it because it's got a USB-C. Come on, it's got a USB-C and the USB adapter in it. Do I have USB adapters to USB-C? Yes, but this looked nice because it was all in one little package. Now, what I will say is try to get an HDMI adapter that is 4K rated. The more you can pull out of that HDMI and push it into the computer, the better it's going to look. And we'll get to that again here in a minute. But you will have to have one of these. This is not the best display option. This does not look the greatest on the iMac. It looks a little bit better now that I've got I've figured out a 4K workaround. And again, I'll kind of go through that as we go, but this is not gonna look the best. I would probably not edit photos and videos off of this, but to set up the iMac from ground zero, you have to have some sort of dedicated display connected, and this is what makes a dedicated display. Because you got an HDMI out of the Mac Mini, you plug it into this dongle and it takes that HDMI input to a USB input. And the reason I've got a C is because you can also do this with an iPad. I'm going to show you how to set it up with an iMac in case you don't have an iPad. You can set everything up with just these two machines. The third option that we'll go over, you kind of have to have another display, and that's where the iPad will come in. All right, so this is how to set it up with the dongle. Back of your Mac Mini, you've got an HDMI out. Buy a short 4K HDMI cable. We've already talked about the dongle. These plug into each other. Obviously, depending on the connectors you have in the back, I only have USB-C, so I'm going to plug into USB-C. We will hook up the HDMI and the USB-C in the back of the computer. Okay, so we are now outputting a 1080 output into our iMac. So we're gonna jump over here. So what you will need on your iMac is QuickTime Player, which I've already got open because I'm screen recording. We're gonna go to File, New Movie Recording. And then this is gonna default to that connector. So this is what it looks like. This is a 1080p screen in the middle of my iMac screen. It's obviously kind of small, and so it makes working difficult because it's a small small screen. You're not using the full value of your screen. If I were to full screen it, it gets pixely and doesn't look the greatest. So one thing I forgot to talk about that you will need is obviously 2 different mice and keyboard setups. As you can see, I've got 2 mice on my mouse pad, which often gets confusing. This is a super cheap Amazon Bluetooth mouse, and I've got a super cheap Amazon Bluetooth keyboard. I do have to put aside my iMac mouse and keyboard and use the other one. So typically, when you pull it up, it views this U-green connector as a 920 by 1080p screen. That's what it thinks it's outputting to, and so that's what's going to start there as. You can see the latency's not too bad. So this is what the 1080p video looks like. I can tell you from using the screen, it's not really the colors that I want out of it. They're a little washed out, not very vibrant. The sharpness quality just isn't as good as it could be. So we're going to pause this for a second. Now, there is an option when we open up Show All Resolutions, there is a higher value option. And so we're going to click on that. It's going to load for a second. And so this is now what that looks like coming through that adapter. Like I've already talked about, I'm not sure that this one is rated for 4K. I don't think this was an option until I hooked up my third screen sharing option, which we'll get to. I don't think this higher resolution was an option. I think it topped out at 1080, and this obviously doesn't look very good. You can see the screen, this window I've got pulled up here is kind of pulsing. There, it stopped. And then if we open back up that video, so now it's a 1080 video. Yeah, and it just doesn't look very good. It looks kind of pixely. Even shrinking it down on the iMac screen, that helps it look quite not as pixelated. The video really doesn't look too bad. The displays themselves are a little, yeah, this text just does not look good. But that is option number 1. And like I've said, you have to have some sort of hardwire out to be able to set the computer up. And even for the other 2 options, you will need a fallback primary display. And so this can be your fallback primary display. All right, so that's the first way to connect your Mac Mini to your iMac. The second way is going to be through screen sharing. If you're not aware or haven't used, screen sharing is when you use one computer to talk to another Apple product, and you can share the screen. You can either view it or you can control it. So this is a software that's built into all Mac computers. If you haven't messed with it, just search screen sharing, application will pop up, you can open it, and then you can connect over your internet connection between the 2 computers if they're on the same network. I'm not going to go into remote networking. I'm not that big of a nerd. I don't understand remote networking. But if these 2 are on the same Wi-Fi, or if they're hardwired together, they will talk to each other and you can screen share that way. So let's see what that looks like. All right, so let's see what the screen sharing looks like on the iMac. I have not got the settings figured out enough to where this will automatically connect. So I've got screen sharing open. You'll see here on the left side, there's a screen sharing application. It will pull up this box and you can click connect. Another way, a lot of times if somebody's on your network, it will show up as a location here. For whatever reason, it's not showing up that way for me, even though these computers are hardwired together. So this is how I got to initiate screen sharing. Connect to me because I'm signed in on the second computer. I can put in my Apple ID. I think you can put in like the network name address if you know that. So it says waiting response from me. I'm going to look at my Mini. There it is. Options, accept. And then you can have control my screen or observe my screen. At this point, I still have my nicer mouse and keyboard set up for my iMac, so I could just hit observe my screen and use it as an observation, but I'm going to hit control. And it now says Hunter Peterson is controlling your screen. And then I get an output view of what this looks like. Now, this looks better than, well, I still got it pulled up. Here you can see the difference between the two of them. We make them about the same size. So whereas your HDMI input is a little kind of fuzzy, not quite clear, this one is nice and clear. Now, I was going to go through the different options, but really, if you're going to use this as an option, just hardwire it. I've got an Ethernet cable connecting the two computers together. There is a FireWire bridge option that you could do that I believe is a little faster. It's like $100 worth of connectors and cables because they're Apple connectors. So I just haven't bit the bullet and done that yet. I will probably do that just as a setup for my third solution that, again, we'll go over here in a minute. As you can see on the screen, I've got Final Cut pulled up. This was obviously, so it's a sneak peek for a wedding, vertical format for Instagram. And you can see, really the video doesn't look too bad. There's not, sometimes as I was editing, there would be lines, like as the video refreshed, it would kind of be lines going across there. So I edited most of this wedding this way through this screen sharing application. Now, if we go, which I think it might kick me off, right now we are sharing at 1080p. Grabbing the wrong mouse. So if I bump it up the resolution, okay, SWIT adjusted, I can go ahead and go full screen with this. Now, I think this is a little higher resolution than my iMac screen actually is. I wish there was an option in between. So that's where I talked about with the headless option or the dummy plugs, you may be able to get some better resolution options in here. But that's what that looks like once we bump the quality up. And I'm on the wrong computer. So this is the other thing that, especially as we get into dual displays, I always hide my toolbar, whatever the heck this is called, on the left side to where it minimizes like that. And it kind of gets to be a pain when we're doing dual displays and dummy displays. So you saw there as it pulled up, there was kind of that, like where it was almost buffering, where it was a lower quality and then bumped up to a higher quality. So this is really refreshing pretty quickly. The quality's not too bad. You can see a little bit of movement in there. And you can see up at the top here that it is showing that that's 101%. So if we jump it down to 100%, this is just a 720 by 1280 timeline for the Instagram. And you know, that's really pretty workable. That will work all right for most people in most situations, probably. I mean, if I can edit video in Final Cut this way, you can probably do quite a bit with that. Because even like if we look at some of these clips, the sharpness is there, quality's there. I think that's probably pretty workable for most situations. All right, so let's look at Lightroom. Here we've got some wedding photos. These are all unedited. I haven't got around to working through this wedding yet. So this is still at that higher resolution. We're full screen on the iMac right now. And so we bump into 100%. And I mean, I don't know that you could ask a lot more as far as the quality I'm seeing on the screen. Those look pretty good. Now you can see there's that just initial second, like not even second, half second of where it's fuzzy. But if I adjust settings here, it just almost takes a second to like render, which is, I mean, that's That's a downside because it's almost like you're working with a slow computer. You got to click and wait on for the things to work. You can see it's just not the smoothest going in and out of the photos. We're working with a little more resolution here than we were with the video. I know somebody will yell at me for that. I mean, they were 1080 videos and weren't like 4K, and these are images out of a Nikon Z6, which are, I don't know, like 48 megabytes a piece, 24, 26 megapixels, big images. So, yeah, it's almost like you're just working with a little bit slower of a computer with this option. I keep wanting to hit escape. Let's go out of full screen. So the nice thing about screen sharing though is you're using the mouse and keyboard that are connected to your iMac. You're controlling it through there. Whereas with the HDMI input, you could only do it with the mouse and keyboard that are connected to the Mac Mini. All right, our third way to connect your iMac to your Mac Mini to use your iMac as a display is called Luna Display. It is this little tiny, I've got a USB-C, it's not really a dongle, adapter, port, plug, I guess. Comes in this little bitty box, and if you have been searching on how to do this, you've probably come across Luna Display. Now, I bought this, everybody says it's not sponsored. I've got like 400 subscribers. Of course it's not sponsored. But they tout that this is a better way to connect between the two. I got this last night, super excited about it, set it up. First impressions is it works better than screen sharing. We talked about how to optimize screen sharing. I think this still works better. And I'm gonna show you, I'm not gonna show you how to set it up. They've got a great tutorial on their deal, but I'm gonna show you what it looks like. The downside to this is you pretty much have to leave this as a dedicated monitor. If you want to make this your primary monitor or the only monitor connected to your Mac Mini, you've got to leave it as a monitor on its own. It pretty much negates any functioning as a computer as it is. I was hoping for a little bit more of a flexible setup because that's what I've kind of been using, is using this computer some, using that computer some, just sharing the display. But this completely takes over your computer. It doesn't really allow you to do anything else. You can't switch between programs once you've got this set up. So nobody goes over the negatives first. I'm going over the negatives first. The major negative is when you disconnect the secondary display, even if you set it as a primary, and I'll show you how to set it as primary, it kicks back to a primary display onto your Mac Mini. Now there is some discussion I've seen online about how to set up especially the headless mode where you can use an iPad wirelessly. I won't really go over that in this video because it's not what this is about, but if you're interested in that, leave a comment. I can make a video about the headless mode. It's pretty cool. I think it's, I was hoping to sit on my couch and edit photos through the iPad, and I can probably do that. But to set your Luna display as a primary display, it has to stay connected all the time. So, whether it be the iMac, whether it be your iPad, as soon as you disconnect that, you will need an actual primary display on this to reconnect it. That's why I said at the beginning of the video, just get yourself one of these dongles because you can always default back to this as a primary display to set up whatever settings you want, because if you disconnect the Luna, all you got to do is connect it back up to the HDMI port, get everything set up the way you want it to get set up, and then you're good to go. So let's jump back into the iMac and see what the Luna display looks like and how it functions. All right, so we are on to our third option. As you can see, I've got still got my QuickTime window pulled up here. I'm gonna see if we can work through this. So typically I've connected my iPad as a primary monitor just to set up the Luna, because as soon as I hit Luna on my iMac, it takes over everything. So again, I'm not going to go through like the full process of how this works. You download a Luna display onto your Mac Mini, Luna secondary onto your iMac or your iPad. Open up the Luna display. It's looking for that secondary display, and we're going to hit secondary, and it takes over your computer. All right, so we got it loaded up. So the issue here with using your iMac, the HDMI into your iMac is the primary and your Luna as your secondary, is it defaults to where it gives Luna your secondary. So we got to go into display settings and see everything opens up in your primary window. So this is why I've been using my iPad as a primary. I'm actually going to try something here while we're doing this, because I'm just going to unplug the HDMI. Okay. So we unplug the HDMI and it makes Luna the default. We're going to bump our resolution up, and there, that works. Okay. So the Luna screen will stay open. It wants to know, is your arrangement left to right? No, it's now our primary because we unplugged our primary. We no longer need, the Luna becomes the primary by default. So I guess that's the workaround, is just unplug your primary HDMI, and now this becomes your primary. We don't want Creative Cloud. Creative Cloud can go away. And so the other thing the Luna does is it gives you control on from your secondary. So my Apple mouse and keyboard that are connected to my iMac are now in control. And so I can open up things like my Lightroom Classic. We'll pop open this again. And so now our images load nearly instantaneously. There's not a lot of delay in between them. When I go to adjust the settings, like they pretty much adjust in real time as if this were hardwired in, which this is hardwired in. I've got a Ethernet cable going straight in. Is that as fast as a USB-C cable? No, but again, I can do adapters and make a Thunderbolt bridge to where I said USB-C, my Thunderbolt 5 will connect to the Thunderbolt 1 on my iMac, and we'll get about the fastest connection you can get out of this. And it's DisplayPort speed, so it would be as if it were an actual DisplayPort. So we can click through photos, and they're pulling up right away. There's really no lag. That one's out of focus, don't look at it. Like I said, these are not edited photos. So that, like the lag you saw there was just the typical Lightroom working on a new photo and throwing its adjustments on. So you can literally see that in real time. This is about as fast of a display as you're gonna get. Here's the one problem I've found with Luna, and I don't know what the workaround is I cannot hit escape. When I'm using my keyboard from the iMac for the Mac Mini, escape is how you quit Luna. So I hit that, it starts to go away. It like starts to fade out. So when I've got a full screen program up, like I had Lightroom up, I want to hit escape to go out of full screen, and it won't do that. Granted, I can just click down, but there's probably some other places where I need to hit escape that it won't let me. So the workaround, I probably just need to connect my good keyboard and mouse to the computer that I'm actually using, and just use my cheap keyboard and mouse for the computer that I'm just using as a screen. So this is showing it less than 100% because we didn't boost that resolution to a higher resolution, because we've got what the actual display is now. But you can see quality's there. We are doing this. Yeah, we're doing this in original media. So the quality's there that you want there. These clips look good. So if you wanted a 4K clip, here's a 4K clip. There's me walking. So you can see there's a little bit of jitteriness maybe where I was walking, there were some other people walking, just as it kind of loads and buffers, but I mean, that looks pretty darn good for my purposes. So because of the speed in which this reads, the way it works really well, that is why the Luna is going to be how I use this. So that's my video. There's 3 different ways on how to connect your iMac as a screen to your Mac Mini. Super excited about picking up the Mac Mini. There's obviously a lot of buzz and a lot of chatter about these online. Now that we're at the end of the video, I will tell you that this is actually the Pro M4 version. I got a heck of a deal on it. I'm not going to talk about that in this video, but there will be hopefully more videos to come. I want to do some benchmark testing kind of between the two. I've already done some of that myself, and yeah, that Mac Mini is pretty amazing. If this is something that's interesting to you, go ahead and subscribe. I am not a influencer. I'm not a professional YouTuber. My office is an office. I have a printer sitting behind me. There's paperwork I had to clear off my desk because this is a home office. I'm just a regular guy living life, doing a photo and video business on the side and trying to do it budget oriented. So if any of that is where you're at, if you're wanting to get started in photography, videography, on a budget, not wanting to jump full in to full time and, you know, spend stupid amounts of money, just wanting to have a fun hobby that you can make a little money with on the side, go ahead and subscribe, because that's what I do. That's where I am. You're never going to see influencer type stuff on here. This is gear that I use. This is real world use, and what I get out of it, what I do and don't like about it. So thank you for those that have subscribed, commented. If there's anything else I can help you with, or if there's any videos you want to see, just drop it down below and we'll get around to it at some point. Because again, this is a full-time gig, so sometimes I don't post videos very often on here. But was excited enough about this one, wanted to get it done. Too much rambling. Thank you for checking out the video. Have a fantastic day.